Listen, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I got some news to discuss involving Nick Smith Jr. We all know we are in the middle of free agency. Everything is just going rampant. The Charlotte Hornets are very active. You've seen it. They have done a lot of big things, and now you have Nick Smith Jr. And there's some news that he has been percolating out here. And if you following the Hornets, you may have not known, but Nick Smith Jr. dropped 55 points at a Charlotte Pro Am. Pardon me. It was the Queen City Pro Am. That's where he put up 55 points. He is in Charlotte and he is doing what he needs to do to get himself right. He's getting the work in. He will not be at Summer League. This is a third year player. He shouldn't be at Summer League. He had a lot of time to develop. We are getting to the point where we know what Nick Smith Jr. is going to be in this league, and I think Charlotte knows, and I think they may have made a decision on what they're going to do with Nick Smith Jr. I think that he may be traded. I'm not saying that he is, but I'm letting you know that whenever a team slowly phases you out, where you don't really hear much about him anymore. He put up 55 points at the Queen City Pro Am, and the Hornets didn't cover it at all. They made no mention of it. They you would have you have to dig deep to know that this happened. Um, I'm gonna draw some news too because there's some parallels. It's being assumed that Josh Okogie, he had his guarantee date pushed back to July 15th because the Hornets will look to include his salary in a potential trade, and they could waive him if nothing materializes. So I say that to say the Hornets, I think, is brewing a trade. I think they are. They need a center, a veteran center. I think that's the last area of need. I think that they're showing up just about everywhere else. You pretty good at guard. On the wings, you looking solid. Power forward. I think you got some guys that could play the four for you. I think the glaring need is a veteran center. We've been going through this a lot. We don't feel that Calbrina is ready just yet. So I think the Hornets may use Nick Smith Jr., in a situation, maybe put him in with Josh Okogie. Nick Smith Jr. could be very attractable, in the trade market because he's a young player. And if you look at it, he didn't really get his just due. Maybe you have to give him some time to, you know, get himself acclimated, into things in another system. The Hornets seem like they always had one foot in and one foot out, whether they was trying to compete, whether they was quote unquote tanking or not trying to win. And Nick Smith Jr. probably got swept up in that. He was never going to usurp Lamelo. He damn sure not usurping Miller. So what's his place on the Hornets? He's not the backup point guard. Is he the back? He's not the backup two. So Nick Smith, to me, I think he just been put out of place right now by the Charlotte Hornets. I don't hear any direction. I don't hear any form of development of what they plan on doing with Nick Smith. I'm hearing about everybody else, but Nick Smith Jr. That is crickets. The Hornets, they got themselves tied up in with a lot of different players. I'm with the notion that Nick Smith Jr. is not James Bouknight. I believe that Nick Smith Jr. is a better player than James Bouknight, but he's gonna have to prove that himself. Nick Smith, he was a first round pick, 27th overall. So, and that was back in 23. So he's got to start showing something for the Hornets. He's looking for proams. I'm looking at his story, and he's posting clips that he is working out. He's working on different things, and he's getting himself ready. But it's not with the Hornet staff, but I'm pretty sure he's in the system, because all of the team was in the Queen City supporting all of the rookies. He was there, but the Hornets are not putting him out there like that. You see Colin Sexton, you see Lamelo, you see Miller, you even seen Diabate. But Nick Smith Jr., it's like you got to go through the cracks and the crevices to find him. So just look at what's happening with Charlotte, and you may answer some of your questions. The proof is in the pudding. Peterson is active, and I think that he's going to be even more active um, as the season gets closer. I think he's hell bent on getting Charlotte to the postseason. I firmly believe that. I can't say that they tried to do this in the past, and maybe dealing Nick Smith Jr. to get a quality big in here that may work. I think it's gonna be more than just Nick Smith and a Kogi. It could be another salary. We don't know what's going on with KJ. What's up with him? Because he's another guy who's kind of stuck in this vortex. And you got Charlotte, they bringing vets in. So I'm just saying, backup point guard. I like Colin Sexton now. But let's see what Charles Lee, how he rolls out the lineup. Because if he was to put in Colin Sexton at the 2 and move Miller to the 3, then maybe that opens up, a lot of different flexible options at guard, if that's the case. But something tells me that, it won't go down like that. But the Hornets they got some pieces, much better than last year. The assets are tremendous than it was last year. They're rolling in this season with quality veterans, young players who are developing. These rookies that come in, they're shooters. So shooters shoot. I think that's going to be something that they could pick up on right away. Spacing. Lamelo is going to create a lot of wide open shots. All they're going to have to do is come in and hit wide open jumpers. Not only Lamelo, you got Miller. Not only Miller, you got Bridges. Now you're looking at Charlotte, you're looking at the record, and you're looking at what everybody's telling you, that they're a laughing stock, they're a joke. This team is a little bit further along in their development than people give them credit for. They just need something. And I think that something maybe Con Knipple, maybe it's McKinley, maybe it's Calbrina, maybe it's Sion James. So we just don't know just yet. But I like this season. I think that they're going to get to the play-in at the very least. If they don't get to the play-in, the season is a failure. And really, what are you doing? You don't bring these vets in to miss the postseason entirely. Now, if you get to the play-in and lose, that's a whole nother story. But getting to the play-in at the bare minimum, that's the minimum. That's all people are asking for out the Queen City and Charlotte. They have a rabid fan base that's waiting to go off, but they got to get percolating. It's the Charlotte Hornets, man. This is a legacy franchise in the league. It's been around for a long time, and it's time to give Charlotte something. It's time to get Lamelo in the postseason and roll the dice and see what happens. I'm gonna leave it at that. Where's Nick Smith going? Will he be playing with Lamelo Ball next season? Well, I don't know. It's Flight Sports TV. Let's get in the comments section.